Hello there. Now then, before we get started, don't forget, press the old subscription bell there. Leave us a comment so that we'd like to hear from you. Today is a beginner's guide to axes, hence the dramatic entrance. So, what says Viking anything more than an axe? It's a very misunderstood weapon. We all hear about swords, spears, battle axes, blah blah blah. Not everyone could afford these things, but every farm would have an axe. Now, you carried this with you on your belt, and yes, you can use it to split heads open, but imagine this. It is the 9th century in Derbyshire, and you're on Stanton Moor or wherever. There's no hotels, you haven't got any, and the weather's on the turn, and it's getting late like it is today. You need to make a shelter. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but you try making a shelter with that. You could, but it's going to take far too long. You find a tree, preferably a silver birch, whack your axe into it, chop it down, make a lean-to or like a roof. You then thread the leaves through it so it's windproof. You use the bark to make drinking vessels, cooking vessels. The shavings you use to get a fire going, and Robert's your father's brother. You've got yourself a shelter, and all because of an axe. That's its main purpose. I describe it as a Swiss Army knife of the Viking world. However, you can use it as a fighting weapon. It'd be a silly person who would attack anybody, male or female, who's toting an axe. You don't need massive training. You don't need massive training. It's sort of self-explanatory. You can use it two-handed, or you can use it one-handed, or you can even flip it round and use that as a truncheon. Yeah, overhead or whatever. So anyway, there are different types of axes which we'll go into later. And as I say, this is like the introduction to axes and their uses. So I think that about wraps things up, and it's just started to rain, so I'm getting under cover.
Well, let me come on camera. We could do a little bit more. Another thing about axes you forgot to mention was in combat how fantastic they are at dealing with spears. Talk about that.
Right, well, spears aren't the first thing I think of, but I'm thinking more of shields. Now, you can use the axe to hook round the neck, and you can bring them to you and stab them. You can split the head open, and if you've got a spear, they're coming at you, you could sidestep, and you can even chop the shaft in half.
I think I just volunteered as a body on camera.
Yeah. So, always useful thing. Everybody always thinks about a sword, don't they?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, we see lots of channels on YouTube which are dominated by the sword, but the axe is by far the most useful tool, and probably the most common tool, common weapon in the day.
Well, I mean, sword basically says, "Don't kill me, I'm very, very wealthy."
Well, indeed.
Whereas an axe says, "I'm steering clear of you, mate. You've got an axe." And remember, from this you have the Dane Axe, the long axe. I mean, this isn't sharp, but you know.
No, it's not sharp. It's a combat axe.
But I could kill somebody quite easily with this. I'm not going to. Don't worry.
No.
But it's a durable thing, and it's like I say, you can flip it round and use it as a truncheon.
Yeah. They're great for throwing.
Yeah.
I mean, axe throwing is a popular sport these days.
Well, it's also, if you see the film The Vikings, Kirk Douglas climbing up.
Oh yes, one of Egil's favourite Viking films.
Whether they actually did that or not, I don't know.
Well, you can see them doing that, but I think it would be a mighty hard challenge.
You got to whack them in quick.
Shot at by bowmen.
Yeah.
And let alone the other nasty things they could pour on top of you, like boiling oil, stones, and dead cattle.
You've also got, I thought you said dead cat, but you've got to whack that axe in really hard. I mean, you'd have to be light as a feather. You know, put in, I mean, putting my whole weight on an axe, it's got to be in pretty deep. But anyway.
And how much does an axe involve compared to a sword?
Well, an axe is something that most farms would have, whereas a sword, if you got one in the village, you'd be surprised.
So you could probably get 10 axes for a good sword.
Well, I mean, we forget today that the making of iron and steel is very, very difficult.
Oh, we take it for granted. You can nick to your car boot, buy an old scrap axe, get in a grind on it, and before you know it, you got an axe like Egil's. Show it on camera.
And again, here we go. There we go.
Let's do a close-up for him.
Yeah.
There's the axe head.
He does love his close-ups.
There's the shaft. I've actually done some work on this for Egil recently.
Yeah.
There you go.
Stop the head flying.
Now, at some point, we are going to make a more complex series on the axe, talking about the different designs, from the bearded axe, the skeg ox, and then the Dane Axe, of course.
Yeah.
So, if you like these sorts of short historical videos, then you know what to do. Leave us a comment.
A bit like a Snapchat.
Snapchat, yeah. That's a thing, that is, Egil.
Alright.
Yes. You're not invented it, it's already a thing.
Oh,
you could have invented something big there, Egil.
concern it.
No. So yes, so leave a comment. What is your favourite axe? What is your favourite weapon? What kind of video would you like to see next?
To hear about things from history? This is as much your channel as ours. We deliver it.
If we get close, we might start getting warm again. It's cold out here.
That's why I've got my hands under here. Armpits are very nice and warm.
Indeed they are.
Yeah.
And on that point, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him.
Bragi. Goodbye.
Woof woof.